Today, Kylie Jenner is trending. Maybe it's time for me to start expressing myself about this family because I find them insufferable yet interesting because you tend to find the things that you cannot understand or relate to interesting. But once you have your fair dosage of what you need to understand a concept, you tend to push away from it. I personally was doing a little bit of keeping up with them back in the year 2011 because I remember hearing about them everywhere. Naturally, I decided to look into them and I happened to learn their names. And I think around that time, the first episode I watched pieces of, because I've never actually sat through a whole episode. I don't have the means to. Whatever subscription is needed for that. I remember it was the 70-something thousand dollar earring that Kim lost. I think it was in Bora Bora or something. And I think that was his name Chris Humphries, basketball player guy that she was married for like, how many days was it? Was it like 40, 60, 70 days, that guy was still around. And I thought, okay, this is that kind of family. And they all talk like this, unnecessarily high, and with that idiotic accent that I associate with people who are just dumbasses. And all they do is talk about things that to me have no benefit. When I think about it, since their names start with a K, where's Karen Kardashian? Because they have that Karen accent. Such as criticizing what your sister is wearing, and on top of that, in real life, I don't have any sisters, thank God, and I just do not know what that dynamic is like, and it's all about owning the fancy things, basically absolutely contrary to what I am as a person. So for me, this was super challenging. Now that I have given you that little bit of a preamble, now I want to dive into what's happening today. I'm on the wonderful land of Twitter. Kylie is trending, and as soon as I saw it, I knew that there was only one Kylie they were going to talk about. I curiously clicked on it and I said, all right, for the sake of being kind of up to date what's happening now, I guess a day ago it was published that she cried on some episode of the show over online comments regarding her appearance. And she is quoted to have said, "It's a miracle that I still have confidence and I can still look in the mirror and think that I am pretty. I went on a journey last year dissolving half my lip filler. Why do people think it's okay to talk about me? I've never cried about this before, but I guess it does affect me. I hear nasty things about myself all the time. After 10 plus years of hearing about it, it just gets exhausting." To be as objective as possible, I will make the disclaimer that I don't want to come off like I condone bullying. I'm going to try to define based off my perception as an individual and my position in society, especially as someone who isn't her fan. I don't know that family. I will never be part of that society. What kind of impression this leaves on me based on my values, my personal state, the state of my mind, the state of my health, the state of my self-esteem. You guys know me, when I put my thoughts out here, it's all about me. It revolves around me. I'm not trying to have the absolute perfect right Christian opinion. I'm not trying to have the Buddhist approach to it. I'm not trying to be like the queen of virtues and all that. None of that. I'm just letting you know where I stand on this issue. I will be wrong on some things. Some things I may get right. Try to separate yourself from that for a moment and just hear me out, especially if you know me well because you have been around on my channel for a while. This should be a super easy exercise for you. And I know that this is possible because you guys have demonstrated again and again that you do understand my point and there's nothing wrong with my projection. In an effort to maintain the communication clear, I thought I would express that. After hearing that, this is how I react to it. When she says that it's a miracle that she still has confidence and can look in the mirror and think that she's still pretty, my question is, why are you not comfortable with your appearance? to this day. Let's just limit it to your physical perception of yourself. Doesn't have anything to do with money, doesn't have anything to do with your last name, anything like that. Just you as an individual. I'm gonna try to humanize this portion and just focus on that. What is it that is different between her and myself to where she struggles with that despite having a much better situation than I have? And what makes me different despite having superficially a worse situation than her? Personally, when I was growing up, I was never the pretty child. I was never told that I was loved. I was never complimented very much. I was criticized very quickly for my appearance, especially with my hair. I was always supposed to have it tied and used a shit ton of gel. I remember how tight ponytails felt and top knots and all that shit. I remember being reprimanded for, say I'm a child and you're dressing me up because we're going to some function, and then I go outside and start running around because I'm energetic. I start having flyaways and I start sweating and my clothes start looking crooked. I feel like I was kind of an adornment. I was kind of an ornamental figure in my family sometimes. What made me feel that way were my achievements in school, which, of course, nothing lower than an A was ever acceptable. When it comes to my appearance, of course, I wanted to make a good impression because my mom also, her reputation was on the line, and if I looked like hot garbage, then it would appear like I'm being neglected. So I understand why that was severe with me, against me, like why I was criticized so harshly. I don't think it's right ever to tell somebody that, because at that moment in time as a child, I was already beginning to display who I was going to be as an adult. And that is, I am simple. I don't like formal, casual, dressy clothes. I like to be, the t-shirt and leggings girl. I always abhorred, detested makeup because of how it made my skin feel, because of how it felt like a collar around my neck. Because if my face is painted, that means I better not sweat. I better be careful about lipstick getting on my teeth. I didn't feel peaceful. I didn't feel free. It didn't feel liberating. But I will say this. This is where Kylie and I are different mentally. I wish I could tell you guys where this determination of mine comes from, what influenced me into being this way, but I just remember very vividly as a kid that there were times in which I was having an ugliness complex, which is, I know that my hair is ugly, I know that my teeth are ugly, I know that my body type is ugly, all those things. I have always been aware of those things, but for some reason I never cared about that, because the people who were insulting me were people who I said, you are so fucking worthless. Why would I care about what you say? And what I mean by you being worthless is that we're not friends, we're not family, you don't feed me, you don't pay my bills. At the time, say as a child, my bills would have been my ability to live in my house, have a roof, eat, and you literally do not teach me anything that's constructive. And as a child, my impression was just different. The way to impress me, like that state of being impressionable, it was always by teaching me facts and wisdom. To give you an example, when mom would drive, I always like to cite this. I asked her questions. I said things like, Mom, when you're driving, what are you looking at? Mom, when you're out by yourself, what is the best way to be safe? Because at the time, I was watching the news and I heard of little kids being abducted and women getting R-worded and things like that. So I was looking for advice. I was never the kind of person who is looking for meaningless, superficial things. To me, altering my appearance is a form of lying, even if you do it to enhance your features, you do it for yourself, whatever it is. I just suck at lying. And the reason I call it lying is because when you alter what you really are, to me, that is a form of deception. If I were to compare that to something else, I could look at it as, let's say that you're going to sell me a car, and I look at the car and I like it. It looks metallic, the tires look like they're inflated and whatever. I pay for it. But then I try to drive it and it turns out that I only have the skeleton of the car. The engine is not working. It doesn't have gas. It doesn't have brakes. It doesn't have the acceleration capacity. Wearing makeup makes me feel like that. It makes me feel like because I am wearing the makeup, I have to comport myself, follow a social protocol that I did not ask to be a part of. So to rephrase that, I know that I don't belong in the upper echelons of society because I refuse to partake in the things that are expected of you when you belong to that class. Appearance is something that has always been extremely valued. Appearance is something that I have never particularly valued because I never understood the usefulness of it. Having a better appearance does not inherently make you stronger, faster, smarter, richer, anything like that. So why on God's green earth would I focus on something that does nothing for my survival? You might say, well, it could help your survival because you can get better mates, you can get pretty privilege, which that is going to be a future topic. I'm saying this shit expires. Eventually, we all will get old, and for some reason, the appearance of old people is looked down upon. Time passage is something that these people are fixated on stopping or slowing down at all costs. Nobody wants to get old for whatever reason. The way that I think of that is I want to be the person who can deal with people beyond any prejudice. Let it be physical prejudice, racial prejudice, social status prejudice, physical abilities prejudice. I just cannot get behind any of that. I feel that people in the present day try very hard to find ways to justify why judging someone on that level is the right thing to do. And it's crazy coming from me, considering that I have the personality of being judgmental and critical. But because I am judgmental and critical, I like to have an opinion that to me, it seems like it's the most useful to ensure that I can continue living in this world peacefully. Worrying about my appearance, which can change at any moment, is something that I don't like to give too much importance to, whether I'm privileged in that department or not, because I want to teach people to not get used to expect an appearance from me. That is not sustainable. It is that simple. I watched a clip prior to filming this about that whole Kylie Jenner situation. I left a comment, and what I said was, kids, the key to excelling with this matter goes as follows. Don't get people used to seeing the glammed up version of you daily. Reserve that for the occasional special event and go about it lightly. That way, you don't shock anyone with your real, natural, regular look. Treat glamming up as if it's a sacred activity. Something sacred cannot be common. Then, of course, I added a postscript in which I described what I said moments ago about I'm not justifying the bullies. I am not defending the trolls and bullies. It is wrong. I'm just trying to show how I, someone with no self-image issues and makeup free since forever, do it and the effects I experience. My way is not the only way to do it, but it could inspire someone out there who may be struggling and doesn't know where to start. Just an idea. So now that I have given you that definition about myself, and once again, reinforced my background. Now let me go ahead and go back specifically to Kylie. Now that I have taken the time to once again define myself and introduce myself again when it comes to this topic, where I am, I think I am now prepared to transition into Kylie. I hope that that information was useful to put out there to transition better into addressing Kylie herself. When Kylie wonders about her self-image and she has those issues, and I think about the fact that she grew up being a child star, she didn't ask for any of that, she didn't have a regular childhood, anything like that. I guess I can say I didn't have a regular childhood. I think that the definition of what a regular childhood ought to be is the presence of both parents, the attention of both parents, the influence of both parents, and by extension, nuclear slash extended family, which would be my parents will have their parents, which are my grandparents, and my parents may still require advice from their parents. Therefore, my grandparents become part of the nucleus because my grandparents, upon influencing my parents, are going to influence me because they still have the authority from the moment my parents are born until, hopefully by order of nature, my grandparents depart. They have the authority to tell my parents that they're fucking up. I think that parental involvement should be an inherent thing to every human being from birth until you kick the bucket. But for some reason, we love to treat this whole growing up situation as my parents, once I move out, are absolutely obsolete. I think that the perfect circumstance in which a child can be brought up is proper parenting. Of course, no parent out there can be perfect, but at least try to fulfill the areas that have been proven a child needs cultivation in to grow up into an individual who doesn't feel compelled to commit crime. And when it comes to crime, I think poverty tends to be the primary thing. Not to say that people with money don't commit crimes. We all know that ain't true. But just letting you know, as an average, relatable person, what I believe in that instance. What are the things that make people not suffer as much in their development? We all know that the presence of parents is important. A household that is warm and loving and provides shelter and support and education, good diets, exercise, your hobbies can be explored, you take time off, you have access to healthcare. All those things are fantastic for raising healthy people. In Kylie's case, I look at it as she may have been well taken care of, but it is very evident that this individual lacked mental and emotional coaching. I like to believe that her mom, for instance, based off what we see on TV, seems to be more concerned with her own personal status more than her children's status. And what I mean by that is she's described as a momager. So you are a mother who is also a manager. And I think that is a bad thing because by you claiming that role, you are already depriving your child of developing normally, of being out here in the real world, adulting like you're supposed to. You're not allowing for your kid to pretty much develop their own personality. They're just becoming kind of like a copy of you because whatever it is that you, as the parent, still dream about, you want to utilize your children as agents to fulfill what you haven't been able to fulfill yet. When I think about Kris Jenner, I find that extraordinarily stupid because I would think that she is already an accomplished and fulfilled woman, considering her marriages and the number of kids she has and her status, especially socially, and how much influence she has. Why is it that an individual in that status has a family dealing with these little ass things? The answer to that is simple. when you spent your time building up your personal profile to be that momager, that influence, the wife of this accomplished attorney and the wife to this Olympian, whatever, what is the price that you had to pay to maintain that level of status? And remember, the way that these people value appearance is because in their society, appearance is something that is valued, and they simply cannot break away from it because it's kind of like when you're raised and you tend to continue the dietary patterns that you grew up with, you inherit that stuff from your family, your parents, or your neighborhood, your culture, stuff like that. So if you don't have healthy diet taught to you from the get-go, that's not going to be the way that you naturally gravitate toward when it comes to the relationship you have with food. I know I had to grow into learning about how to eat better. And on top of that, I had to also train my palate to tolerate that stuff. It's not, oh, okay, put a salad in front of me and suddenly I like it. I had to experiment with different kinds of veggies and mixing them a certain way and adding things to it a certain way until I finally figured out what works for me. And I was able to get by. But if I were to go about what I inherited from my family, observing what they used to feed me, I mean, it wouldn't be the strongest diet in the world. And it's not to shame them or anything. I'm just saying that they inherited whatever they inherited based off what was going on with them at the time. So going back to the Jenners and the Kardashians, this is the society that they know. This is the lifestyle that they know. And for me, as stupid as I see it, in a sense, I still feel compelled to respect them a little bit because, again, I have been able to have the time to introspect and define exactly who and what I am. And the reason I was able to do that is because I allow only influences that I deemed proper to act upon me. And anything that went against what I valued, and anyone who attempted to manipulate into doing something that goes against who and what I am, I closed the door on their face and I ignored them so hard that they questioned their existence. And to this day, I continue to ignore them and pretend that they're not living, breathing people. Unless there is an emergency and I have to save your life, I want nothing to do with you. People like this, though, they have a status to maintain. They are used to that lifestyle. They are used to that position, to that situation. Therefore, it's not like they can just opt to quit and not suffer consequences from it. And that's what's happening to Kylie right now. She wants to be a simpler person. She wants to be freer. But she cannot because the world is brutal out here. And she sold that version of herself, of the glammed up person with no imperfections. And suddenly for you to step out and show all your flaws, which is, to me, it's not a flaw, it's the natural way of humaning, that is going to shock your audience. And that is why here on the channel, I know that I may come off like I'm attacking and not appreciating you guys in the audience, but whenever you guys ask me to wear something specific, to do my hair a specific way, to show feet, to do whatever the fuck it is that you weirdos ask for, I never entertain you. The problem with people like this is that when you entertain a clown, that is a sentence. Because unfortunately, that clown now knows that they have power over you. I'm sitting here telling you that no matter how much you offer to pay me, you don't have power over me. You could resolve my financial situations. You could promise me that I could have anything that I want in life. You could give me the world, access to anything at all. and I'm still not going to allow you to impress me because I don't want to give you that power. I refuse. That's why I will continue to look the same, have the shitty lighting, have the shitty editing, and that type of thing. These people are used to giving maximum performance. The perfect picture, perfectly edited, perfect lighting, just everything perfect, 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 perfect. I got you guys used to seeing me authentically. Therefore, whenever I come out with whatever bullshit I come out with, you are not shocked. Now, if I would have begun my channel being all glammed up, you guys unfortunately would get too used to that and expect it and demand it. And that's why if I feel like it, I may change my hair. If I feel like it, I may change my clothes. But whether you stay or leave makes absolutely zero difference to me. Whether you leave that troll comment or you leave the compliment, it makes zero difference to me. However, when you do make the nice compliment, you leave the nice compliment, I like to acknowledge it because I don't want to dehumanize you as an audience member. I know that someone out there with a keyboard took the time to observe me and put that thought together, and the least I can do is to acknowledge your input. But just because you said that my hair looks great today, it doesn't mean that from now on I'm going to feel compelled to do this because this is the only way that I am acceptable. No. Most of the time you guys see me, I have just rolled out of bed. Whether I was taking a nap or whether I was watching something or just chilling or whatever. That's why it's always looking frizzy. It's always looking like shit. You can tell what I just did based off how my hair looks. If it looks particularly neat, I probably showered only half an hour ago. But unfortunately, again, people like this, they're not relatable. Even if they try to hang out with us and try to be relatable, try to create content and present an image that is more average looking, you simply cannot, because that is not the person you are. This is an individual who comes from a specific background, and therefore the only image that suits them is that image they have sold to us. Anything that differs from that will come off as disingenuous, and that's why these people online are roasting her. And once again, I will say this again, trolling and bullying is not right under any circumstance. But I do understand why people react this way. And that's why I try to simplify it by saying the way to avoid this mess is to not entertain these buffoons with a version of you that is not truly you. And to bring that back to myself and make it about myself, I work customer service. I work with the public. Yes, I have had the people say, when are you going to straighten your hair? When are you going to wear makeup? When are you going to dress like this, like that? Why don't you try doing this and that and the other? All those things. That is high school ass shit level behavior. Why would I allow my high school season to influence me in my adult years? Some adults do not know how to transition from high school into adulthood. Therefore, I cannot hang out with that crowd because I am in the crowd that's beyond high school, attitudinally speaking. To hang out with a crowd that is not part of my society would be detrimental to me. So what I'm seeing is individuals who try to fit in into a group that they don't belong to are the ones experiencing that detriment. I'm saying because I know who and what I am, I know which crowd to hang out with. And unfortunately for me, but in a sense as an antisocial, fortunately for me, as an individual who is of a personality that's not very common, that's why it's best for me to have a limited number of people I can call friends. That's why I don't have a lot of friends, and I am perfectly happy with that. because the ones that I do have, I know are suitable for me. But there are a lot of people out here trying to impress too many people. You're not meant to be impressing. You're not meant to be getting along with everybody. Not everybody out here is supposed to love you. It would be ideal, but for some people, you will represent a disruption. You will represent a challenge. You will represent a threat, even if you're perfectly innocent and you don't mean any kind of harm that is out of your control. What is within your control is whether you decide to stay with that crowd or leave it. I have been sincere enough to detect a crowd that's not suitable for me and avoid it like the fucking plague. But I find that the people who try to, once again, incorporate themselves into a place they don't belong in, you suffer. And you act shocked as to why you're being treated that way. You're being an invasive species, and the other species are trying to take you out because you are a threat. Be patient, take the L, and continue to love yourself and give yourself the time for that season to arrive. Do the best that you can, but do not try to artificially force something to happen, force something to go your way. So in Kylie's case, because she had such a low self-esteem, particularly regarding her lips and stuff, she allowed for a stupid boy to define her personality for the rest of her life, or at least her life up until this point. I find that ridiculous. If I would have allowed myself to be manipulated based off what I heard when I was a child from my cousins and my brother and my mom, the cruelty that I heard and experienced, I wouldn't even be here. But I think that adversity that I experienced back in the day, I just so happened to, and again, I wish I could tell you guys how, where, why. I decided to look at that adversity and just be like, I don't give a fuck what you say. For some reason, I had a strong mind. I don't know where it came from. Maybe it's my scientific inclination and tendencies, and maybe my judgmental, critical tendencies that I naturally have recurring. But somehow I was able to survive all those painful comments because it sucked that my family clearly didn't love me and clearly were not warm and loving, and I needed that based off my personality. Then at least experiencing that adversity helped me to strengthen my belief of I'm not going to allow something petty like that to define me. And I know that some of them feel the regret. Some of them try to even justify why they said those things. At this point in time, I don't care because I know that I live an extremely peaceful life despite my challenges. And that is the thing that I decided to cultivate for myself. No matter what happens, I want everything that I experience to be real. I want to experience my sadness whenever it's due for me to be sad. My joys, whenever I feel genuine joy, you can tell when I'm legit joyful. I have been told that people literally see me glowing. It radiates off me. Whereas you can tell when someone is being fake. The people who try to appear likable, they have this fake ass laugh going on. You can pick up on that. That is what, to me, the Jenners and the Kardashians feel like. You want to give this image of wonder and delight and coolness, but that's why they appear so cringy and unrelatable, because they're used to having people serve them. They're not used to doing the serving. I trained myself to expect to never be served and do the serving. And if you don't understand what I mean by that, it's the unnecessary ignorance video that I put out kind of goes over it a little bit. So I'm not going to really try to express that now, given that that topic is over. Now I'm going to breeze through some of the comments that people have left Kylie. and I will let you know how I feel. To finalize my own personal thoughts based off the synopsis of what Kylie felt when she said, I went on a journey about dissolving half my lip filler, it's like, okay, this should have never happened anyway. Why do people think it's okay to talk about me? I'm sorry, but that is simply the price that you have to pay based on your status. You didn't ask for it. I'm sorry, I would hate it too. But this is what you inherited and you have benefited from it. You have to accept the curses that are part of the blessing. That's just the nature of the beast. And again, I am not condoning bullying and trolling that is harmful and stuff like that. What I'm trying to say is she needs to understand that people will comment on her because of her profile. You cannot escape it. The only way you could escape it is if you go to some remote island and you never make any mention of yourself again. Like no word of you comes out. I've never cried about this before, but I guess it does affect me. I hear nasty things about myself all the time. After 10 plus years of hearing about it, it gets exhausting. And what's interesting about her saying 10 plus years is that I think about my job as a vet of 10 plus years myself, and I'm like, it's awesome that the shit that used to affect me 10 years ago as a worker no longer affects me. And I'm saddened to hear that Kylie, her job being putting out her image, she has not gotten better at her job. She hasn't felt better in her job. So, for instance, when it comes to my abilities as a worker, I have definitely become a better cashier. I have become better at dealing with conflicts. And I have better knowledge now to be able to assist people. I'm faster at getting results, blah, blah, blah. Let's look at Kylie. What has she individually, personally achieved? Her own skill set at her let me sell my image job. She still suffers from criticism. When I get criticized at the store, the complaints that I have told you guys about that I have received, I cope with it well. They don't define me. They don't hurt. She clearly cannot deal with the criticisms from her customers, those being us, whether we are her fans or just people who know her name or people who don't know her at all but can concoct an opinion. She still hasn't developed the thick skin required to deal with that. That is something that she should be good with by now, especially given how long this has been affecting her for. But to me, this sounds like she has perhaps never taken the time to recur to someone who could help her process this. The only way I became a faster cashier, better at resolving conflicts, and all those things I mentioned is because I took the time of asking the proper figures for advice and coaching during the time that was due for me. So now, after this passage of time, you see me now, you see my confidence, even on my videos, the way I project myself now versus how I projected myself years ago. I'm still the same person. My content is still the same. My goal and intent is still the same. But what has changed is that I used to worry a little bit about how proper I was coming off whilst remaining authentic, but now I'm more confident about putting myself out there however it is and not trying to anticipate a misunderstanding and try to mitigate it before it develops. If you as the audience leave stuff that completely goes against what I was expecting as a reaction from you, I look at that as that's my friendly reminder that I cannot be controlling about everything, no matter how badly I like to keep things in order and whatnot. And that is good because it keeps me challenged and in check. But this tells me that Kylie doesn't have that management. She doesn't do those things. She isn't at that level. And I think that she will appear as a grown ass woman with kids and appears childish and immature It's because unfortunately she has missed out on her season to develop. She still has time because I'm a believer that your entire life is a learning journey. But in her case, her learning is delayed. And it's absurd to say it like that because people are just focused on this is a successful person because she has money and power and influence and all those magical looking things. But she is paying the price for it. But unfortunately, no one took the time to coach her on how to deal with this. We all need to be pretty much coached at how to be ourselves in a sense. And a lot of that begins through introspection. Me personally, because I did my homework of getting lost in myself, thinking about myself, asking myself what I like and don't like, and being honest. And if I don't like you, fuck you, I tell you on your face, as opposed to I don't like you, but come on over. I won't let's let people see us together. Like, no, you stink, get away from me type of deal. That gutsiness, I was able to develop it at the season that was right for me. I identified it, I embraced it, and it is a part of me to this day. I look at it as there are people in this world who miss out on that defining season, and that's sad. And that's why sometimes I think that jobs, particularly, could serve as another line of defense to help a person build their character up. But unfortunately, jobs are set up to where you were supposed to go to school and school did its job at teaching you stuff, and at home it is expected that you received the inculcation of values and ethics and whatever the hell is supposed to come from home. Basically, once you make it to a job, you should be prepared and competitive. You should not be needing repair as an adult, aka therapy. But you didn't. I think that jobs, since that's pretty much the third stage in your life, first is the raising, the intro that you get to life from your home and your parents. Then it's school, which is complemented by whatever you're getting at home. And then you transition into the job that's going to be what you report to for however many decades you gotta work for. I think that if you miss out on one developmental season or both of them, jobs should be more responsible and proactive about identifying a struggling person and recognizing this person has the ability to learn. It's not ideal that at our place we have to make up for the things that this person is lacking. But given that businesses exist because of leaders and they impact communities so much and they need people to continue, why wouldn't you wish to serve as a remedial opportunity for the workforce that you're supposed to love and appreciate because they allow you to continue to live the life of comfort that you enjoy? But as opposed to looking at this worker like they're a burden or like they're no good, therefore they're not deserving of an opportunity, I think you ought to attempt to make your place the remedial place. I look at it as the church. Church is not supposed to be an edifice. Church is supposed to be a movement. Businesses should feel like a movement. Churches are supposed to be the places where hurting and lost souls go to heal. Well, that is the hospital for the mind and the soul. I guess you could see it as from a religious perspective. In the same manner that we have psychiatrists and psychologists, I think that your profile ought to be evaluated and be like, in my case, Zam, you grew up without a father. How does that affect you? What possible accommodations could we offer so that you can be successful in your role, considering that some of the known consequences of being daddyless are the low self-esteem, the insecurity, blah, blah, blah. You guys know that shit. What can we do? That would be optimal. That would be amazing. And I think that a lot of competitiveness issues would be cured or at least rectified. But of course, at the job, they're thinking, you need to be thanking me for considering giving you the opportunity to serve here so that you can have money. I still gotta bring myself in with my values and ethics and character and education and skills and language abilities and whatever the fuck classifies as a skill that I can bring to your business to help it grow and prosper. You ought to invest in me as well. It should have a dual cost. The cost on me is my physical sacrifice, mental sacrifice, and my time. Your cost should be maintaining me healthy and helping me access resources to perhaps better myself or cure myself from some things, or you yourself provide the accommodation to avoid me falling because of those demons that I have that are following me. But anyway, I will finally get into the Kylie Jenner comments. So one comment goes, Kylie destroyed the body image of an entire generation of girls. Sorry, I cannot feel bad for her. I understand what this person says from my own perspective, being, look, you cannot deny that you had a massive following looking up to you and you had influence over them, and your insecurities were projected onto them. Now, since you couldn't bear the fact that you have thin lips, you decided to biggin them artificially. Now your fans love to have procedures done themselves, or maybe they start saving up money aspiring to get a procedure, as opposed to you being like, look, unfortunately, I just couldn't bear to see myself. I wanted to explore this opportunity for me to temporarily perform this change on myself. This is something that I'm just trying. This is not something that defines me. Please consider that my ability to explore this is one that I'm privileged with based off my status. Please do not feel compelled to follow my path of I have to change my face or else I'm not acceptable. I am doing this because I know that my image is a big deal, and I'm just looking at it as a form of expression. What is it like for me to see myself differently? But please don't feel like the way you were born is unacceptable. I am a person very self-absorbed and cares too much about appearance. Don't be like me. Figure out who and what you are. Now, if you would like to observe making changes to yourself and deem it an exploration or form of artistic expression, sure. Just know that I understand my fan base is not exactly at my level when it comes to access to these resources. But just so you know, this is the effect it had on me. I'm still an insecure ass bitch. It sucked. I have to continuously go back appointment after appointment every 6 months because this shit is not permanent. Just, in a sense, I wish I had the confidence of just rocking my natural looks so that I don't have to be going to a doctor all the time. This sucks. It's really not the glamorous lifestyle I'm trying to sell you. I am so sorry. I regret it. Boom. The problem with Kylie that I personally have is that she denied for a long time that she changed anything. And she attempted to profit off people's insecurities by coming out with a cosmetic line and claiming that her new lips were the result of her having makeup skills or a good makeup artist or something like that. That is bad. Kylie Jenner has been selling teenage girls a distorted view of reality with her diet teas and facelift injections for 10 years, but now she's crying over it. This girl made millions off destroying women's self-esteem, and now we're supposed to feel sorry for her? Nope. So again, I kind of understand where this person is coming from because yes, unfortunately, that is true. You were insecure You projected it onto your impressionable audience. This impressionable audience, also with their issues, looked up to you for some reason. They found you somehow something to aspire to, and you detected that, and whether it was your idea or your mom's idea or your manager's idea, you profited off this. Once money is attached to it, your intentions, it's hard to backtrack from that. Were you valuing that revenue stream, or were you valuing the fact that other people with insecurities were coming out and joining you in your quest for the perfect appearance, even though you still struggle with your self-image? If you were a grown-up woman and Kylie Jenner destroyed your self-esteem, that is a skill issue. She was a child, and there were hundreds of women before her who I would blame before even looking that way. I'm not sure what she means by skill. Is it makeup skill? Again, I think that your self-esteem is something that you need to become comfortable with how you are at default. You shouldn't allow for, oh, I am only acceptable when I am caked up looking like a clown out here. That doesn't make any sense to me. Y'all were gonna be insecure with or without Kylie Jenner. Hate to break it to y'all. I'm sorry, but blaming Kylie Jenner for placing unrealistic beauty standards on a generation of women is such a chronically online thing to say. Beauty standards existed way before Kylie was born, but she perpetuated it. She is pretty much the new generation of people perpetuating this thing. And unfortunately, although Kylie has benefited from it, especially financially, despite her not really needing it, she could have just used her family's money, gone to school, and become something. This is what she became. My disconnect from Kylie as a human being is that I feel like she doesn't want to take responsibility about the price you have to pay when your career is based off an image that you're selling. I feel like she doesn't understand her job description, because her job is so, how can I describe it? Not natural. It's not a real job. I guess we could say an unorthodox way of jobbing, that maybe we just haven't defined this well, despite there being decades of people being models and selling images and all that. I guess we haven't learned our lesson yet, that when you get attention put on yourself for those things, what are the consequences attached to that? I think that you go into this completely naive, but once the consequences begin to hit you, you try to free yourself from the responsibility and try to say, people mean, people bad, people nasty. It's just human nature to be like that. And although I think that is a behavioral issue in a more civilized society that we're trying to reside in now, it still exists because our tendency is to judge shit. We do that to find mates. We do that for competitive edge. It just cannot be avoided. I personally decided to define that I don't want to bring another human being down in a way that I wouldn't appreciate being brought down like I was in my childhood. It's absolutely not anti-feminist to say that Kylie Jenner and her family profit off women's insecurities and have for decades. The same women who are the face of weight loss, gummy bears, and fillers have no sympathy from me. I can agree with this person because, once again, you benefited from this, therefore it comes off as disingenuous for you to be feeling this way. And I don't want to make them not appear as human and like they don't have feelings. I'm just letting you know that the way that you process things and go through life is going to differ from us. And although we all, no matter our social status, we have the same basic needs, which is food, water, clothes, protection from the elements, shelter, protection from the elements, and the need for love and affection, protection, all those things. When you monetize any of that, you have to suffer the consequences from it. I'm gonna say it because nobody else will. Kylie wanted to look like the black girls because she was hella insecure about herself, so she bought her body and is still insecure because money can't fix insecurities. Also, there's a whole generation of women who wanted to buy their own bodies because she did not, knowing she's just as insecure as they are. A sad looping cycle. That last bit there, I didn't quite understand, but this person has a point. I'm gonna read maybe a couple more, and after that, I'll be ready to sum up my feelings here. This is the kind of topic I wish I could have streamed. And see, another thing I guess I could mention is that unfortunately, the adults in Kylie's life failed her. Honestly, there's a good comment here that helps me with that. People still post pictures of Kylie from when she was a minor to talk about how ugly she was as a teenager, but are angry that she started doing lip fillers at 17 and still has body image issues. In that instance, I think it was the responsibility of the adults in her life to protect her from this type of shit, but they didn't because they decided to capitalize off her childhood as a member of the family. They valued the position and power and prestige and glory this would bring them over what it ultimately does to your mind. And that's why they all appear to be mentally, the way they act on the show, they appear to be children. They're like teenagers. They fight like little kids. Have you ever heard Kim and Courtney fight? Like, Kim was trying to say that Courtney stole her wedding idea. You don't own Italy. You don't own Andrea Bocelli. And none of that. But Kim is over there trying to say that she has the copyright to such an event. And from what I understand, Courtney wasn't even the one who invited that guy to sing or whatever he did. Now, this is a comment I gotta say I disagree with, and the name of this user is Lieutenant Lesbian. It goes, I'm sorry, but I don't understand the people treating her like shit for this simply because she perpetuates unrealistic beauty standards when the unrealistic beauty standards in questions were created by men and misogyny, not Kylie Jenner. If she says that this was invented by men and she means the owners of beauty pageants, cosmetic things, I can kind of agree with her from the perspective of I don't know if the men designed makeup and created and invented makeup. I just know them for having the tendency of being the owners of those types of things. But I will say that when you come back to Earth to join us average mortals, and we discuss the average man and what the average man wants, from my personal experience and what I have directly heard from them, they actually want you to eliminate the makeup altogether. Do away with it. They don't like feeling it on their face, on their lips, on their skin, on their hands. They don't like to see you melting. So that little part right there, when you say men and misogyny, I have to disagree because, again, based off the men I know in my life, present in person, and what they have expressed, what they have shared, what they have dared to share, they really don't want that shit. This is something that y'all invented and created and made an issue. And I guess that you change yourself because you try to make yourself more attractive and have a competitive edge. But remember what I said earlier on this video. I said that you are selling a fake image of yourself. The way that a man may become unattracted to you is when they discover that they have been deceived. When you are fresh out of the shower and you look different, that is shocking. And it's also shocking that it takes you so fucking long to put yourself together when what they actually want out of you is your time, attention, devotion, care, those things. But what you're trying to give them is a sense of pride because you're a good artist on your face. They don't value that. Men simply do not value that. I guess I was inspired maybe by some man somewhere because As a child, that's what I'm trying to tell you guys that I was thinking. I don't value selling a version of me that I just am not. I like that I have skin. I like that I have hair. I like that I have eyebrows, whatever is left of this one. I loved science, and I guess because I liked science and I understood the role and function of why my body will have certain things going on with it and why it may react to some things negatively, such as your face being sickly looking pale when you wash the makeup off because it's not getting nutrients, the pores get clogged and therefore you break out, and your solution is to apply even more, even more, even more to fix a problem that wouldn't exist if you just gave up your stupid addiction to caking your face up. I guess because I learned those things, that shocked me and impressed me enough to be like, makeup is a fucking scam. In the same manner that I treated higher education in this country as being a scam if it was going to set me back financially by so much. Like I have said before, and I will say it again, make yourself hard to impress, and maybe you won't suffer as much from things like this. Well, there you guys have it. I hope that made sense. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, my way of looking at things works only for me. I have developed these thoughts, these views, these feelings based on experience, and I wanted to get to a point where I was happy with myself, and these are the things that help me be happy with myself. I'm not telling you you need to become an exact copy of me. I'm just letting you know, if you wonder how I don't struggle with presenting myself in this manner consistently, I'm trying to put into words what went on in my noodle to get to that point. My journey is gonna look different from yours. I cannot sell to you that the way I did things is gonna work for you. I'm just trying to inspire you, maybe give you ideas if you are someone who struggles to this day. And especially if you're someone who's an adult and you still give importance to those things, I'm here to tell you that in my time as a teen and slash young adult and slash adult and continuing to adult, having makeup on my face has never given me an advantage, nor has not having makeup on my face deprived me of opportunities, and has not made me go hungry, and has not crippled me, and it has not hindered my ability to make friends and acquaintances and do my job and stuff like that. And it just feels nice that when an eyelash falls on my eye or whatever, I can mess with it and not worry about, oh my god, the smudges. And as you can see, I don't have breakouts. And now that I touch my face, I'm probably gonna have a breakout here in a few days because I do have oily skin. Anyways, you guys, that's it. See you.